So again, fast forward, I had a chance meeting with Curtis Gadsden, who used to run BET. He later on became kind of one of my mentors. And I met him and he was, looking at me like, he had just come off of his big job at BET and moved to Atlanta. And I met and I said, hey, Mr. Gadsden, my name's Princess and I would love to meet with you for coffee. I have this TV idea, this TV show idea. And again, reality TV wasn't really a big term back then. So I kind of said, I have this show idea. And he looked at me like, okay, little girl, like, meet me Thursday at Starbucks. So we did. We sat down, we met, and he said, you have something here. And him being a businessman, he knew that I didn't know the industry enough to produce pitch material. So he took his moment and said, well, I have the background. She needs the help. And we literally teamed up. He taught me a lot. He taught me how to create a reel. I hired models, the house, honey, I wrote the script. I mean, with the help of him and his son.
You shot a pilot.
Yes, honey. Well, at the time, and here's the difference, without getting too technical in TV world, what I was creating was a reel because I wanted it to be short enough to shop, not too long so that, people get stuck in their idea of what the show's going to look like. Because, when I talk about this, I try to do as many teaching moments as I can. People get stuck on what you give them. I'm one of those people. If I see something and my mind goes directly to that and I don't particularly care for it, it's hard to get a producer or development, a buyer to switch to what can sell. They just kind of go off what they see. So I was literally creating a 5-minute piece that someone could look at and say, I get it. So we took the best of 2 days of filming, condensed it, and it was a phenomenal piece of work. Yeah. And it was, so we ended up basically with his help, again, putting together this really extraordinary reel, which led me to LA and led me to an executive at True Entertainment, which got me Real Housewives of Atlanta. And so, that's kind of how it started. And if you want to,
So let's talk about how I know that you had this meeting, you pitched your show, and then how did Real Housewives of Atlanta sort of develop?
Yeah. Okay, so in that meeting, we talked about it was called Dime Piece, and he loved it. This executive loved it. My friend Rob Funderburg, he used to manage all kinds of different artists. He brought me to LA. I met with the true executive, and we sat there. And at the time, what I knew was he liked what I was, talking about. He liked the show that I was giving him. But I also felt like, you know what, I'm here and they're talking about lots of TV stuff, like all these other shows. They were talking about different shows. They were talking about, I ended up finding out in that meeting who he really was. And I remember the moment where I heard him say, my friend Robert say, he did Orange County. He did the Real Housewives of Orange County. And I remember him saying that in the past, but I didn't know what the show was. I had never watched the show. Reality TV was not big in Toronto, in Canada, period. It's only actually been 5 years since we've really started getting the shows that the US gets because of our broadcast system, censors, and so on. But I remember saying, he did what? And they were talking about this place called Ladera Heights in LA, which predominantly Black women. And I just sat there and remember thinking, And I said, oh, no, that's Atlanta. That's Atlanta. And, back then, boy, when I tell you what I said, if I said something and it left my mouth, it had to happen, period. Like that was my mindset. And, it's funny because I'm always like, where is that girl, Jesus? But we always, lose a little of her and find her later.
Right.
But I said, that's Atlanta. And they both looked at me like, and I said, no, these are women that are wearing fur, like I said, living the life, driving nice, eating nice, but these are Black women and they're in Atlanta. And they still kind of, looked at me. And I remember him looking kind of like, okay, because listen, I'm not the first person who's ever thought of doing a predominantly Black cast, but guess what? I'm the first person to execute. And I'm the first person to get it to the finish line. And at the end of the day, That's all that matters. It is forever your legacy if you execute. But if you think about it and think about the why not and the who did and the who else didn't,